Hey everybody, Jamie from the Marine Doctor's YouTube channel, and today it looks like the RV industry is in trouble. I say this because I went up north a while back, went on a golfing trip with the boys. We shot a -3 if anyone wants to know, and if there's any other YouTubers that would like a guest, I would be a fairly decent partner to have. But anyway, back to what I'm talking about. Up north is where our big dealers are, and our big dealers, well, their lots are full of new product. And seeing as though the 2026 stuff hasn't been released, this is all 2025 stuff or older. And I know that a lot of it is older product because I have talked to customers that have come in that are looking for boats, and they do end up buying 2023s, 2024s, and so on and so forth, because it's less expensive obviously than the 2025s are, and they're being cleared out by these big dealers. So what does this mean? Does it mean that the prices are going to start coming down? Will stuff become more affordable? I don't think so. Unless these dealers are going to go out of business, they still got to make money off of this RV boats, motors, trailers, so on and so forth. They still got to make that money. So a lot of these guys, I don't think they pay cash for them, but they put them on financing. So a financing plan is great off the start if it's 6 months of no interest, but at some point you got to start paying that interest as a dealer. So if you got millions of dollars in inventory, you can't just sell off inventory anymore. You've got to start recouping some of that money. So at my shop here, I'm happy with just a sale. A sale is a sale is a sale. For example, if someone comes in and they want to buy a prop and the prop's $430, I sell it for $380 just to ensure that I get the sale. They may have paid the $430, but I'm just that guy that feels that everyone deserves a break sometime. And no, I'm probably never going to get rich, but I'm always going to have a good, healthy conscience for myself, right? I make someone happy, they leave happy, I'm happy, so on and so forth. When it comes to engines, I'm kind of the same way. Engine sales, I usually get around 40-50 engine sales a year, and I know that that's going to drop off unfortunately this year, because I'm going to feel that same pinch that the big dealers are feeling. And it's not as much about the money, because I do give people breaks on the product. So if a Mercury engine, if I can help someone out and knock a few $100s off, I will, and I'll do that for everyone that comes through the door. But those prices, I guess they are still kind of high, but the money that's out there isn't out there anymore. People don't have that extra cash that they can put into purchasing an engine, yet alone purchasing a complete unit. A lot of people, again, and I've mentioned this before, are fixing old stuff just to keep it up and running, so they can get out for their 2 or 3 or 4 or 50 times a year that they go out. So where do we go from here? Well, I think the Marine Doctor and Ron's Marine, where I work, we're going to be fine. I don't think we're going to have any issues here. The property's paid for. All we have are lights, utilities, so on and so forth, and taxes on the property. We don't pay rent, obviously, because we own it. So our overhead is really low, which allows us to definitely offer better deals than the big guys do, because they got to make, I don't know, 15, 20 grand a pop on some of the big stuff, maybe $5,000, $6,000 on the little stuff, where I can make hundreds of dollars and comfortably survive. And I know that we got a lot more spaces in the yard here this year, so service has dropped off, but we're also down 1 tech from last year, so that's 1 less mouth to feed, or 1 less mouth to have to make money for. So with just me and my son here, and we did have a friend of mine came in for a while, Brian, and he helped us out for a bit, for a couple of weeks to catch back up, but we're going to be okay. The big guys, I know that 2 of them down south have already shut their doors because they just couldn't keep up with it anymore, right? You can't, just imagine the stress that's on these guys trying to survive or just stay afloat, and so on and so forth. You can't do it. There's just no money out there anymore. It's being spent elsewhere. And the tariffs, well, do they really affect us here in Canada? Yes and no. Maybe the stuff we're selling less stuff down to the States, but my engines, for example, the majority of the ones that I sell a lot of the Mercury 30 horsepower and under. Mercury Canada buys those directly from the manufacturer, so no tariffs. I know that the MSRP pricing was raised, but our cost stayed the same. So I think that was the price increase that the US had just to save face, maybe. I really don't know why they went ahead and did that, but they did. So in the end, the big dealers, I think, are going to take a big hit this year, if they aren't already. I kind of chuckled. I was talking with one of the other marine dealers in the city here, and he mentioned that there might be another marine dealer coming into the city to sell boats. Okay, have at her. Because if the big guys can't do it already with the brand name boats, and you come in and you buy and you're trying to sell a lesser brand name, it's not going to work. That's just not the way it works around here. Everybody's kind of stuck on those. Tracker, Bayliner, Lund, Glastron, kinda. Well, that's a used to be, because we don't really have much as far as Glastron goes anymore. But yeah, we've got our main boats. There's another Lund, another Tracker. Those are the boats that sell around here, and that's what people come in looking for. So if you're trying to break into the market in this area, if you don't have one of those brands, you're probably not going to be very successful. Anyway, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey everybody, Jamie from the Marine Doctors YouTube channel, and today I wanted to do this video for quite a while because it affects me and it affects you guys. And it has something to do with charges on an invoice. So as some of you guys know, and I've said it quite often, that I don't really do a lot of my own work on my vehicles. So that means I have to take my vehicle to a professional and have them work on it. And yes, I know I do a lot of DIY videos so people can work on their own stuff. But when the work day is done for me, the work day is done. I want to be able to hop into my Corvette seen over there and just simply drive it. I don't want to do oil changes. I don't want to, I don't know, change the harmonic balancer, oil pressure sensors. You know, those are things that have gone wrong with the vehicle. I just don't want to do that stuff, so I get someone else to do it. But let me set this up for you guys and see if you guys can figure out what I'm talking about. Comment below if you guys figure it out right away. But let's get into this. So customer comes in, be it me at an automotive place or you guys at a marine dealership, and you're presented with your invoice of the work that was done. Now you've taken your boat in, and you want the let's set up the symptoms. Let's do that. Sorry, you want them to work on the engine because it bogs and it has no power, right? So you're reading through the bill after they hand it to you, and it says it bogs, has no power. They start with their checks, their listing. You're reading it as you go down, and it says spark was okay, compression was 130 times 3 because it was a 3-cylinder 70, for example. And you know, you keep reading down. The gear oil's okay. We checked the water pump. We did all these things that may or may not have anything to do with what we wanted the work done, but they were checks anyway. So you know, they're doing what they can to make sure that you don't have to come back in a couple weeks because the engine doesn't work. Then to get down to the nitty gritty, we removed the carburetors. We found that the carburetors were green. We cleaned them up. We rebuilt them. We put them back on. We test ran the engine. The engine seems to run fine. Good, right? We're good? All right. So then we start getting over to the parts list. And the parts list, it has carb kits. It has some spark plugs maybe. Some gear oil, maybe a water pump that they put in, and we keep reading on down, and then these things come up, and you start reading, and it says rags, cleaning supplies, electricity, water, cleaning up the mud puddle that was in the back that someone complained in comments about. You know, things like that, miscellaneous connectors or what have you, right? They're these little tiny charges that are on there, and you total those up and it says $6.95. Well, you're okay with that because it's all itemized, and it's things that can be explained on the invoice. All right. But then some technician or some shop somewhere came up with this really good idea. And instead of them saying itemize things for $6.95, they came up with this idea, and it was, well, let's just make it 10 or 15% of whatever the labor was. And in circumstances, we'll even make it 10 or 15% of the total bill. And then we'll put it down there. And wait, we got to call this something. Shop supplies. Yeah, okay. So here's your $600 bill, and here's an extra $60 tacked onto it, so it's $660 because we're going to put shop supplies on there. Well, that's all fine and dandy, and I can tell you guys a little bit of a story, and I don't charge shop supplies here. I itemize everything for people so that they have an understanding of what they're being charged for. I had an H2 Hummer, and I took it in to get some work on it, and I was quoted a dollar value to get the work done. Okay, so the work gets done, I get presented with the bill, and it's higher than what I was initially quoted. So I know some things happen, right? You know, stuff takes a little bit longer or what have you, right? Stuff just doesn't go as planned. But it was the shop supplies that were added on that took it well over what I was quoted. So I questioned it. I said, well, that's awful high for shop supplies. You know, what did you have to use for shop supplies? He says, oh, I don't have to tell you, he says. What do you mean you don't have to tell me? So if you had to put oil into an engine, you'd write oil down. Is that not a shop supply of some kind? It's in my opinion, there's a cost of running a business, and the cost of running a business, for example, is lights. It's miscellaneous things that you would have lying around the shop that you don't really want to carry in inventory, right? But you can still itemize it and still say, hey, this is what we have here, and this is what you're being charged for. But he wouldn't even go as far as letting me know or justifying the fact that he tacked on all this extra money. And this happens everywhere. So needless to say, I'll never go back to that place. And if someone does ask me about that place, I'm not going to say much about it other than, you know, I had some work done. The work worked, right? And that's it. I'm not going to badmouth that place. That's not me. But it happens so often, and it's just one of those things that the dealerships feel justified that it's okay. Another one, for example, let's see if you guys can figure this out, is a service fee to write up an invoice. Okay, so if the extra charges of the shop supplies wasn't enough, now it's $25 for the service writer to take your information down, enter it on the computer, and and get your work underway. Well, if we're gonna do that, how about we put down a lot? How can you explain this? The lot boy. The lot boy's got to be paid too. So we'll put in a $15 service charge because you had to go out with the tractor and bring in your boat. Again, it's a cost of running a business, right? We can't openly charge for everything, or we shouldn't openly charge for everything, because isn't that what the labor rate is supposed to cover, right? Or if you don't feel that your labor rate is high enough, raise it so that people have an understanding up front of what they're actually going to be paying for. Don't charge hidden fees. There are, believe it or not, but this one really irks me. We used to get our oil picked up by a company here in the city, and they would charge us to pick up the oil. They would charge us to pick up the bottles. And then we found out that there's companies out there that do it for free. Oh, I know, right? They'll actually pick up your used oil, and they'll pick up your bottles, and off they go with it. And, well, you might help them load the bottles, but that's it. They just take it away. But these other guys, $500-600 to haul the oil away. It's crazy. So then you look at your bill, and the bill says, well, there's all these enviro fees. Well, okay, I get it. You know, there's the recycling, and I get it, but it should be tiny. It should be small. It should not be a noticeable thing on your invoice. Like 35 cents, I think that's fine. $6, $7, $8 for something that is being picked up for free. And are they even submitting that money? Right? I did some Googling the other day and some searching around, and yes, we have enviro fees here. Yes, we should be charging them, but where do you send it? I don't know. I'll probably have to dig deeper. But again, it's another one of those things where it's another cash grab. It's another way to make money. It's another way to inflate an invoice so that these dealerships make more money. So it's not as much you're going in to get your engine repaired, but you're paying for everything and anything that anyone does to it. Hell, I might as well even just charge people if it rains, okay? Rain surcharge. A rain surcharge would be if I have to go out and take some water out of your boat. You know, rather than just being someone that's courteous or a business that's courteous and just does it because it's part of owning a business, I should charge for that. What do you guys think? Comments below. Hey, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey everybody, Jamie from the Marine Doctor's YouTube channel, and today I'm gonna rant again. Tell you a little story about what happened yesterday. A customer brought in Mercruiser, that particular boat over there, the Rinker, and he had a blown exhaust bellows. And I told him that sometimes when we go in, we find other things. So I suggested we might have to do the gimbal bearing. Well, that's fair enough. I open it up, and sure enough, the gimbal bearing has to be done, as well as his shifter boot. So I guess ahead of time he knew about the shifter boot because his boat was sinking. So I went ahead and did the repair on the shifter boot, as well as the gimbal and the exhaust bellows. But at the same time I was in there, we have to take the shifter cable out. So I tested the shifter cable and I found it had a sticking point. So the cable is about 160 bucks, and I didn't charge him any extra labor because I was already in there, all right? And the cable definitely needed to be replaced. So customer gets said bill, and I get called to the phone. And he's given me grief about spending the extra $160 on his boat that he said has never had a problem shifting before in the entire time that he owned it. For 5 minutes he's been telling me this, just going off on me. So I said, okay, here's what I'll do. You know, I found the sticking point. I know there was a problem, and again, he attested that there wasn't. So I gave him 20% off the bill, right? You know, just to be nice, just to, you know, calm things down. Here's the thing, and here's where you may agree or you may disagree. If it comes down to $160 that you have to rant and be mad about, should you really be owning a boat and spending the money on the boat when it sounds like you've got money that needs to go elsewhere? And another thing, and this one really stung. This actually really bothered me when this guy was going off me, because I try and be really honest with people, and I treat his people as fair as possible, and I help them where I can, right? If I wouldn't have replaced that cable and he took it to the lake and had an issue with shifting, he'd have blown up on me, wouldn't he? Because I was the last one to touch his shifter cable. Like, what do you do? What would you guys do? Would you have given the 20% off? Would you have argued with them about it? Would you have, I don't know, maybe explained? Like I was calm. I thought I did what I needed to do with that 20% off. I just don't know sometimes. Just sometimes people just get under your skin. And I don't feel it's fair to me, because like I said, I do go out of my way for these people, and I try and help them when I can. Sheesh. Just people. Anyway, sorry for the rant, guys, but I needed to say it, and I guess some people even need to hear it. You know, in this industry, if we find something, we have to fix it. There's no two ways about it. We can't just leave it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video, and hey, thanks for watching. Hey everybody, Jamie from the Marine Doctor's YouTube channel, and today we're going to talk about the destructive powers of rocks. Yeah, you got it. We had a boat come in the other day. I haven't even seen it yet. I just know it's out in the yard here. Could be any one of these. I'm thinking it's maybe this one, maybe, but I'll walk around and we'll take a look. Anyway, apparently hit a rock, and it's going to go through insurance. So I'm going to let you guys know what you have to do in order to get things underway. And first of all, hit the rock. It's as simple as that. Hit the rock, and then take it into your dealership and tell them the story, the right story. Hey, we know your wife didn't do it. It was you. It was you. All right. So it looks like I found it. So knocked a bit of the skeg off. So the first thing that we're going to determine Is this something that would go through insurance, or is this something that would just be simpler for the customer to get repaired? So far, what I see here isn't too tragic. It's maybe $200-300 fix for someone to weld a new skeg on. Well, that's what the going rate is around here. I don't know what it is in your area, but that's definitely cheaper than $3 grand, $4 grand, $5,000 to replace that gear case. Let's take a closer look. We're gonna go ahead and, well, I don't know if this would be the same prop that he had on there to begin with. There's no damage on it relative to what we see on the skeg. So I'm gonna suggest they switched out the prop. But what we want to check is to see if it still spins true. So we're going to look for that shaft to wobble. We'll spin it fast. And to me, that doesn't look like it's doing anything other than spinning how it's supposed to, nice and straight. So we'll take another closer look, see if there's any holes in the gear case. Well, he's definitely punched the front. Signs of oil coming out. No signs of oil coming out. So we can have a dent in the front of that, and it's not an issue. If there's a hole, that's an issue because, of course, well, it's a hole and oil's going to be coming out and leak out. So far from what I see, this isn't going to be something that's insurable. Let's see, let's take a walk through the yard and I'll see if I can find something that maybe was insurable so that you can see what the difference would be. We're going over to the pile. So this is old engines that we've taken off, taken in on trade, or were just destroyed and needed repair and couldn't be repaired and so on and so forth. So we have this. So the skeg is gone, the prop shaft is bent, prop was damaged, and this one just was beyond repair. So we couldn't get away with just doing a skeg on this. We would have had to do, multiple fixes to this, which was beyond the value of this particular part, when you can actually just purchase an aftermarket one from down in the States, or for where a lot of my viewers are from, and just bolt it on, right? Then I don't have to worry about warranty. The warranty is covered by SEI Drives. I'll give them a plug, and that's Stern Drive Engineering, and yeah, they look after the warranty. So that's not what the video is about. I just want to give you an example of that would be a written off gear case. I wonder, is there another one? Maybe even a little more severe than that? A lot of power heads. There's another one that wouldn't be insurable. They would just fix that. Oh, that's Chrysler. We have a video on that one. And again, a little bit of damage on that one, but that's nothing serious. That's not going to be insurable. I guess let's talk insurance. You also have to have insurance on it. So that would be a rider maybe on your home package, or specifically insurance that you've purchased for the boat. You can choose to spend a whole bunch of money on insurance and over-insure it and never recover that money should you ever have an accident, or under-insurance and never have enough money to fix it. And also keep in mind, the way the insurance companies tend to work, especially around here, is if you don't have sufficient damage, say above $2,500 that they're going to pay out, your premiums are going to cover that $2,500 over the next few years anyway. So if it's $2,500-ish, pay to get it done yourself. I know that doesn't sound like what you really want to do, but it's unfortunate as it is, that's the way the companies work. They don't want to pay out. So the next step would be, so let's say, for example, that was an insurable thing. You've brought it in. You've talked it over with me. You've told me your story. I then take pictures of your boat. I take pictures of the damage. I open up the gear case if necessary. In that case, what we've seen there, I don't think it's going to be necessary for me to open up the case. But in any event, we open up the case, we take a look inside, we determine the value of the repair, or the estimate of the repair. We submit that to the insurance company. The insurance company then debates and makes a settlement with you with regards to how they want to do the repair, or if they want to do a replacement. A lot of times it's just simpler to replace, and it's a lot faster to replace. So we can get a gear case up here in Canada for Not 4. I don't know what they are. I think we end up selling them for under $3,000. Under $3,000. It's fairly cheap, but we'll have them within 3 or 4 days. I don't know what's going on right now with the way the U.S. is right now, where we're going to pay tariffs or not. But that $3,000 hopefully is that marker that it's going to be and stay there, because everything's getting more expensive. So we definitely don't want boating to get more. So the insurance company, you talk it over, they give you the value. So they can also choose to pay out on the engine, and then it's just salvage. So then you end up actually getting a new engine, or new to you engine, because they'll give you a value of whatever it's worth. So if it's a $6,000 engine, you'd get a payout less your deductible. So if your deductible is $500, you would get $5,500 to then spend on or put towards another engine, or just completely walk away from boating altogether. Now, not a lot of people do that, but that also is an option. Outside of that, we get the repair done. You come, you pick it up. You might pay the deductible to the place that did the work, or we submit everything to your insurance company and it's all hands off. A lot of the time that is the way it works now, where we get issued an e-transfer or a check from the insurance company after the repair is done. You just come, sign for it, take it, and you're back out to the lake. I think that's pretty much the process. It's I know that it can be tragic and can be devastating for an accident to happen. We're gonna lose a weekend or two. We are, and it's really bad that that's something that does happen. But it's not as painful as you think. If you've got a competent place that you're getting the work done, and they're trustworthy, and they get everything ordered on time, it shouldn't take too long to get you guys back out on the water. And that's one of the things that we try and do here, is get everyone out as quick as we can. And yeah, I think that's it. I think you guys know more now. So just remember, hitting a rock, as devastating as it is, isn't as bad as you think. Hey everybody, Jamie from the Marine Doctor's YouTube channel. We need to have a chat. We need to have a chat to those people that think that a 40-year-old engine is gonna run like a brand new engine. We need to have a chat about that someday your engine's not gonna run like it used to, no matter what your favorite technician is capable of doing to it. Other than you throwing gobs of money at it to throw new pistons and rings into it, or new injectors, or, well, not even as far as new injectors, new carbs, everything. You throw everything at an engine, and at some point, it's just not gonna work the way it used to. Case in point, I've got a 40 horsepower Merc. It's over 40 years old, and it's sitting in the tank right now. The compression seems like it's okay, but it doesn't tell the whole story. There's other things that come into play. The amount of wear on the rings themselves down in the bottom of the cylinder, so it can't draw fuel in anymore. So that blue boat in here is gonna run. The customer's gonna take it out to the lake, but I'm gonna give them a heads up. I'm gonna tell them sometimes it's gonna stall. It's gonna rev up every time and hit higher speeds, but it's not gonna troll. It's never gonna troll. And it's not that I'm trolling about this, I'm just stating the obvious. At some point, it's just not gonna work the way it used to. It doesn't matter. So to get this thing to run, it now takes 2 people. It doesn't have an electronic choke. Somebody actually has to come back here and they have to hold that on, the choke on, because it's worn out so bad that it just doesn't stay in place. You start the engine. The only way to start it after you shut it off, unfortunately, is to now throttle up the handle, because it doesn't have a low speed. It has a mediocre low speed, which means it's running too fast to troll. So ideally, this engine should be used for spare parts on some other engine and no longer spend money on it. Unfortunately though, we had to put a power pack on it to get it to go. So the customers invested quite a bit of money in this, well, creation. So where do we go from here? What do we tell the people? Because at some point, they're just not gonna work. Optimax, it's not a really old engine. Great technology. But at some point, they no longer run. And that's why it's on this stand and he has a new engine. But at least this guy was understanding that, hey, if your cylinder's down on power, so's the engine, and it's just not gonna run. But some folks just expect everything to run, and it simply can't. Yeah, we can work miracles sometimes. Sometimes we find out what caused the problem or what's causing the problem and we're able to fix it. But in the big scheme of things, all of those things are minor things that we're fixing. They might be major in price, but they're minor. We're replacing things that allow the engine to run properly. But some things we can't. I've got a rebuild, couple rebuilds here that I have to do. Broken piston rings. It's not going to run properly. I don't care if it says it's got 105 pounds of compression on that cylinder and 115 on the others. It's just not going to work right. So what do? We spend a ton of money on it. We get it back to normal. And it works. But again, we're changing internals. We're not dressing on the outside. If we took a gear out of your gear case and said, okay, go in reverse, and we took that gear out, it's not going to go in reverse, is it? Or if we put a buggered up damaged one, it's not going to work. I just don't understand sometimes what people think. Just a bit of a rant. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.